Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sunday edition of StudentLoanJustice.org. My name is Alan Collins. I'm the founder of Student Loan Justice. We've been around since 2006, believe it or not, fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. 2005, actually, March 2005. So 18 long years have we been around. If you're new to the group, welcome. Tonight's live stream was meant specifically for you, and I'll tell you why that's true in a minute. Couple of announcements. We're working with change.org and USA Today on a story about people who are getting their loans canceled, and I know for some reason that happens to be a surprisingly and inordinately large percentage of the people on this group. You know, the recent loan cancellations that have been mentioned over the past months and I'd say year or so have only affected 2% of all student loan borrowers, less than 2% actually. But for some reason, a huge percentage of our most active members anyhow are like 40 or maybe even 50% are getting their loans canceled. So I don't know what's going on there, but I do know that we need the new people in this group to really step up, because the old guys are, you know, their problem apparently is getting solved. So the most active people in our group, we may be losing soon. I hope that's not true, by the way. I hope if you're one of the few people in the grand scheme of things, if you're one of the few people to get your loans canceled, I hope you will not forget about this group, because there's still 42 point something million people in the country who are totally screwed and they need your help. And so I hope you won't pull the ladder up behind you. So if you're watching us on Twitter and or Facebook, you can throw your comments out, and I'm happy to read them aloud on air. And we can kick them around if you have any questions, comments, editorial opinions, or otherwise. One last final announcement. Please donate, guys. I've got to ask this. Right now, we need, I think, 8 people to donate $20 or more. And that is to cover our expenses for this week. So this past week, actually, not this next week going forward. This next week going forward, we're going to have to raise a total of, I think, $500. So anyways, please make this fundraising a little easier on us, guys. We can do this on very little funding. We can't do it on nothing. So tonight, specifically for the newer people on our group, I want to take you through just a brief history of our organization. Hopefully no more than a few minutes. But it's a very long history, so I could make it hours long if I wanted to, but I will stick to the major bullet points. So first of all, let me say, I'm the founder of StudentLoanJustice.org, so I can tell you the history. I have my own student loans. I don't want to bore you with the details, but suffice it to say, my student loans were thrown into default despite my best efforts to keep them in good stead. And I smelled a rat. I started doing some research. Prior to this, I was an aeronautical scientist, California Institute of Technology, and so forth. So I started doing some research, and what I found was jaw-dropping, with kickbacks to the schools and corruption among members of Congress and all these just sneaky, snaky things that were happening behind the scenes with the student loan program. You know, these loans have been weaponized. They've been turned into licenses to steal. And then the first thing that I noticed was that bankruptcy rights had been removed from the loans. And there's a lot of other things that I discovered as well. But suffice it to say, I took my research to a reporter named Bethany McLean, who wrote and still writes sometimes for Fortune magazine. She just happens to be the same reporter who broke the Enron story back in 2000 and something, maybe 1999 or something like that. And I began sending her my research. Well, lo and behold, after about a year, in December of 2005, Bethany published a very critical, what turned out to be a cover story. Well, it was mentioned on the cover of Forbes magazine. Back when magazines were actual physical things, you know, and so it was kind of a big deal. And that very quickly led to us and our research being featured top story on 60 Minutes, which was pretty crazy, actually. It was jaw-dropping. And remember, back then, guys, student loans were not an issue at all for anyone ever, anywhere. If you did a Google News search about student loans, you might find maybe one article per month written on the topic. It was not a well-covered topic at all. Nobody talked about it. Nobody knew about it. So to go from being, I guess I would say, a disgruntled borrower to being featured top story on 60 Minutes was a very big deal for us. And it was everything in starting the movement for student loan justice. So one other quick point, as a result of that 60 Minutes episode, multiple state attorneys general like Eliot Spitzer, state of New York, others launched investigations, as did Senator Ted Kennedy's HELP committee, the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. And what those investigations found culminated in the largest scandal in higher education history, in the history of colleges in this country. It was a massive scandal where they found even more wrongdoing, as I said, kickbacks, bribes. In fact, the financial aid administrators of 4 very well-known colleges, including like Columbia University, which is a very prominent Ivy League college, their financial aid administrators were fired summarily. And quite frankly, I think they probably should have been criminally charged. So that 60 Minutes piece was a very big deal. And at that point, I thought it was kind of a done deal that this problem would be solved, because the light had, the bad guys had been exposed. And that was May 2006 when that 60 Minutes piece aired. Well, lo and behold, the problem was not solved. I'll just leave it at that. I could say a lot more, but I'm just going to say the problem was not solved. Ted Kennedy's final piece of higher education legislation happened, which was basically a slap on the wrist for the colleges. They paid some fines, and it was like that. But at the end of the day, the problem of these predatory loans was not solved. And the heart of that problem was the absence of bankruptcy protections from those loans. So we started, as I said, I started Student Loan Justice March 2005. We traveled the country in the year 2007. We visited every education member for the House and Senate Education Committees. We visited every member in their home districts. And we also finished that trip, by and large, in Washington, D.C. And the thought was that finally they would return bankruptcy protections to the loans. The colleges would no longer be able to raise their prices at double or triple the rate of inflation. They would crack the whip on the colleges, and the borrowers, particularly those who had been, spent their entire adult lives being robbed by these loans, would be provided some very significant relief, hopefully without even having to file for bankruptcy. Well, guys, I'm here to tell you that never happened. The Blue Dog Democrats in 2008 completely failed to return bankruptcy to student loans. I should say the Democrats had been promising it forever, but the Blue Dog Democrats, people who today are people like Jared Golden, Google Jared Golden and student loans. He's a Democrat from Maine, and you can see what we were up against then, and still again now today. We're a fiercely nonpartisan group, guys. We always have been. Whatever your political stripes are, you're very welcome in this group. But let me just say, the Democrats had many opportunities to make good on their promise to return bankruptcy protections to student loans. And the Democrats failed us in 2008. They failed us again during the lame duck session of 2010, when they had lost their majority, their trifecta of power. And then skipping forward by 13 very long years, 14, actually 15 very long years, 13 something, skipping forward a long time. Most recently, the Democrats betrayed and abandoned us again and failed to return bankruptcy protections to student loans. Now, again, if you're new to the group, you're probably going, why does this guy keep mentioning bankruptcy? I don't want to file for bankruptcy. Yeah, nobody wants to file for bankruptcy, and few people should have to file for bankruptcy when we get the right returned. The founding fathers knew that having the leverage, the power of bankruptcy was so important. They called for that in the Constitution ahead of every right listed in the Bill of Rights, ahead of the power to raise an army, ahead of the congressional power to declare war. And so, and I could tell you all, in the ensuing 15 years or whatever, wherever we're at, from 2008 till today, we've done many things. We've lived in Washington, D.C. for nearly 3 years. We've lived in Iowa in the run-ups to the elections of 2020. We've traveled all across the country many, many, many times. I think I've probably traveled something like 70,000 miles at this point, crisscrossing the country, meeting with legislators, doing rallies, giving talks, doing protests at the Democratic National Convention, the Republican National Convention, you name it. Just Google us and you can see many, many, many of the things. I lived at Occupy Wall Street for months and months and months in Zuccotti Park, Manhattan, New York. We've done many things. I'll just kind of leave it at that. I'll leave it to the enthusiastic Googler to have a look and just see a snapshot of all the things that we've done over many, many years. But most importantly, guys, are the past few years. So this group right here, and we've got over 1.4 million members now, which is really kind of a significant thing, I should say. We didn't have more than about 30, 40, 50,000 members until 2020. But this group started the public conversation about canceling student loans by executive order with our petition at change.org/cancel student loans. Change.org/cancel student loans. In March 2020, this was many months before anyone, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, any members of Congress, anyone, period, were even talking about whether the president has the power to cancel loans by executive order or not. The president does have that power, by the way. And despite the Supreme Court thing that we saw a month or so ago, the president has exercised that power. In fact, Donald Trump canceled student loans by executive order, not once, but twice. He did it before the pandemic. He did it during the pandemic by executive order. That's a very key qualifier there, by executive order. The president and the secretary can do this. And this thing that we just saw roll through the Supreme Court was a complete travesty of justice. But that all started here on this group. And that's true. In fact, if you do a new Google News search for student loan cancellation or cancel student loans and then by executive order, the very first instance you will see in the media of that topic even being discussed is a seminal interview we did at Vice News in August 2019. So while we're very disappointed in how that Supreme Court case turned out, we are supremely confident that the president still does have that power. And Joe Biden used very head-scratching law to even justify his lame loan cancellation, and it was lame, make no mistake. So we still strongly believe and are strongly pushing for loan cancellation by executive order. But ladies and gentlemen, even far more important than that, in fact, fundamental to anything, any loan cancellation you might want to see, any break on interest or reduction of interest, the interest rate to zero, or whatever you want to see happen with your student loans, I don't care who you are or what your deal is, that will happen, but only when we get the leverage of bankruptcy rights returned as they exist for all other loans, for all other borrowers. That's the most important thing that I'll tell you tonight. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. I get that. Least of all you, least of all me. I don't want to file for bankruptcy. But I know, having been very carefully and thoroughly observing this federal lending monstrosity for so many years, and private student loans as well. Make no mistake. We're calling for the return of bankruptcy rights to all student loans. Fighting for bankruptcy is the most important thing that anyone and everyone with student loans, including you, should be fighting for right now. Hopefully I don't have to tell you, the interest on these loans turns on September 1st. That's 10 days away. And first payments become due October 1st, a month after that. And if and when that happens, and it's looking like it probably will happen, and we will not have the leverage of bankruptcy on our side, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to get very, very ugly for you and me. And this puts this group in a very important position, guys. We came very close to getting bankruptcy returned last year. But in the 11th hour, some very sneaky things happened. And I have to say, the Democrats betrayed us. You know, the Republicans are evil. Don't get me wrong, guys. We hate both parties. But the Democrats were supposed to be on our side, and they completely betrayed and abandoned us at the critical time. And that's gonna hurt them, because people aren't stupid. But it really hurts us. And quite frankly, the fact that such a inordinate number of our members are getting their loans canceled through Biden's, or I should say the Department of Education's loan cancellations over the past 2.5 years, that only makes it far more important that the new people on this group, which would, I think, be you, right? Because this is what this live stream is for tonight, all the new people, makes you all the more important. This could get very ugly, ladies and gentlemen. And as I said, we're expecting good legislation to come out quite soon that will return bankruptcy rights, certainly to federal student loans. There already is a bill out from Steve Cohen that returns bankruptcy rights to private student loans. We've got to get off our asses and fight for these bills, guys. The people in Congress are not going to fight for us unless we push them to fight for us. The talking heads, including me, by the way, you know, I'm not going to solve this problem for you. The people on our group who are doing the work, they can't pull your weight. This is a working, fighting group, guys, and it always has been, and it always will be. And that is the most important, the most important point that I'll make. Nothing good will happen to us if people sit there and they wait and they watch and they worry and they assume that somebody else on this group is going to pull their weight for them. That never happens. Not ever. It never happens. And I know I said we have over 1.4 million people in this group, but guys, I'm telling you, that's meaningless, because on any given day, I only see a few hundred people doing anything. So if you want to actually solve your student loan problem, like not pretend, not this fake, feckless $10,000 write-down gimmick, if you actually want to actually see your student loan problem solved, like maybe and probably your loans canceled, we've got to get the leverage of bankruptcy rights returned first. That's how that works. Don't believe anything you hear from any of the other, I would call them at this point, fake student loan activist groups. Those groups are by and large fake, guys. Some of them do deals with the student loan industry. They make money off of their members' asses, selling them into loan consolidation, into rehabilitation. Others do $1 million business transactions with the student debt collection industry, guys. So they're not fighting for you. And quite frankly, I think they're making too much money to actually want to solve this problem. I'm sorry to say that, but it's just true. They're not fighting the battle that needs to be fought. We are. And I know what of I speak, and I hope that the passion with which I am speaking sort of conveys that fact to you. And it is a fact, guys. We've been doing this a long time, and we've seen all the ways that this issue can get distracted, can get watered down, can get corrupted. And the bad people, and they are out there, the people making money on this student loan scam, they know all the buttons to push at the right time in the right place to keep this lending scam going. And I'm very worried. I'm just going to be honest, guys. I am very worried at what the months ahead hold for us. If we don't get bankruptcy rights back, it will be a bloodbath. It'll be a slaughter. Because remember, the student loan collection companies haven't been paid that much over the past 3.5 years during COVID. They are hungry. They are drooling. And their number one goal, their number one fantasy is to see these loans turned back on and bankruptcy rights remain gone. So you're probably wondering, okay, well, if you're new to the group, okay, well, I hear you talking, but what can I do? Well, here's what you can do. We try to make this very easy for you guys. We do daily actions nearly every day. I would say hook up with us on our Facebook group, and you can find that through the website. Maybe you're on it. Maybe you're watching me on Facebook now. I don't know. Go to our website, find our Facebook group, join that. Join your state chapter, again, through the website. Very easy to do. But do our daily actions, and you can see our daily actions that we update pretty regularly, every week or so, right there at that link below, bit.ly/SLJ daily action. You can also see our daily action at the website. So as I said, we try to make it very easy for you. And these daily actions usually take no more than a minute or so to do. Sometimes we ask you to maybe make a phone call, but usually it's just Twitter stuff. So you do need a Twitter account. That's true. Twitter sucks. I hate Twitter. Everybody hates Twitter, but Twitter is pretty effective, guys. Quite frankly, I wish we had started doing Twitter as a group many years ago. But anyhow, so I hope that's clear. I'm going to look and see what sort of reaction I can get. See if we have any questions or comments. You know, I'm so worried because so many people are getting their loans canceled now, but they are not representative of the problem, guys. Even though it seems like 50% of our most active members have gotten their loans canceled in the past couple months. Very few people, 2% or less of the borrowers nationwide are actually getting their loans canceled. So we need your help, and you need us to succeed. And because, you know, we are the tip of the spear in this battle, guys. But for this group, we wouldn't be talking about loan cancellation by executive order. But for this group, we would have no bankruptcy legislation to fight for. So it's very important that you do your part and not expect anyone else to solve this problem for you, to put in the work. So I'm worried, guys. I'm always honest on this group. I always tell the truth, and I am honestly very worried. And you know, remember also, guys, this $116 billion that we're hearing about Biden canceling. Well, in an average 2.5 year time period, like $250 billion in interest is added onto our backs, and another almost $250 billion is added in new loan originations. So they could cancel $116 billion in student loans every 2.5 years, and the federal student loan portfolio, and this doesn't even count compounded interest. Federal student loan portfolio will still grow by $473 billion every 5 years. No, more than, wait. I don't know if I got that math right, but yeah, they could cancel. The Biden administration can cancel loans as they are canceling them forever. And the federal student loan portfolio will still grow by $1.5 trillion over 10 years. So, anyways, I'm doing math in my head. I'm snake biting myself. We have a couple questions. I see a couple comments here tonight. And by the way, if I can't respond to all the comments here tonight, I know we're over 20 minutes now, so I need to wrap this up. But if I'm not able to respond to all your comments, I will do it offline after the fact. So if you have any questions, comments, editorial opinions, or otherwise, by all means, throw them up, and I'm happy to respond to them in situ. So Lisa Ansel in Los Angeles. Hey, Lisa. She says, if your loans are canceled, mazel tov. That just means that you have the luxury of less personal headspace for anxiety and depression regarding your own loans and more headspace to devote to advancing our mission. Well, Lisa, I could not agree with you more. And I could only hope and pray that most people will see it that way. However, 18 years of experience informs me that when people get their loans canceled, they tend to go away. And so I know Lisa, in fact, I happen to know, is one exception to that wisdom. But I agree with you 100,000%, Lisa. I can only hope that if people see relief at long last on this, please don't pull the ladder up behind you. Don't forget about us, because you are only one in 50. There's still 49 other people for you, for every one of you who remain screwed. Hey, Shelley Klein says hey, Shelley, these appear to be those with 20-year plus nonprofit or state employment. I'm still waiting for public service loan forgiveness to be updated, and it seems like forever. Yeah, I think that's by and large true, Shelley. Now, there should be a few people that should have made it through the income contingent repayment program, which is a very long, nearly 30-year-old program that was started in 1995. So I think a few people are making it through that way. But I think you're right. As far as people in income-based repayment, pay-as-you-earn, revised pay-as-you-earn, the other alphabet soup of income-driven repayment plans, I don't think it's even technically possible for them to make it through those until, at the very earliest, like 2027, if not even later than that. And that would be through the income-based repayment plan. So I don't know. It's maybe the bigger picture here that people need to realize is the federal student loan program is collapsing before our very eyes. Very few people will resume paying on their loans when they turn the loans back on. My best estimate is that not even 25%, maybe 25%, but probably not even 25% of the borrowers will resume paying on their loans. So the federal student loan program is collapsing in slow motion before our very eyes. The whole thing is evaporating into a mist of illegitimacy. So honestly, I don't even see the federal student loan program even existing in a couple of years, because when nobody's paying on the loans, what is that? That's a failed lending program is what that is. And there's really, quite frankly, nothing that the people in Washington, D.C. can do or don't do, say or don't say, that can change that fact. And I'd be happy to explain that in greater detail in another live stream. But yeah, it's the Wild West out there now, guys. And anybody saying they have good advice to give you is lying to you. They don't have good advice. They are almost certainly trying to sell you something and get money from you. You know, all these debt coaches and student loan lawyers, all these people saying, hey, I can help you with your student loans. I can help get you $0 payments. Those people are all predators. They're all hucksters. And most of them are only trying to find desperate, vulnerable borrowers that they can rope into loan consolidation, defaulted loan rehabilitation. They can make massive fees off of your ass by getting you to rejigger your loans. So anybody saying they have a good advice for you, take it from me. They do not. Nobody knows how this thing is going to turn out. Least of all, the people in Washington, D.C. They have no clue. The Department of Education has no idea how this is going to go. But I can tell you one way it's going to go, and one way it's going to go is almost nobody's going to pay. Like, if you pay on your federal student loans even another dollar ever again, you're probably going to be in the small, and I mean small, minority of all student loan borrowers, guys. The lending system is collapsing. It could have a good ending where finally we get some truth and some honesty and some spine and courage in Washington, D.C., and they simply cancel all of the loans, call it what it is, a failed U.S. policy experiment, and replace the student loan system with something that actually works. It doesn't make the colleges obscenely rich, etc. But I digress. So, okay, guys, we're way over 20 minutes now. I got to go. I'm sorry. I will respond to your question, comments, editorial opinions, or otherwise after the fact. But again, if you're new to the group, welcome. We need you more than ever. And you need everyone to be helping us as well. We are the tip of the spear in the battle for student loan justice in this country. I know it doesn't look like it, but this group, the historical significance of this group and the actual importance of this group going forward makes it, I would say, maybe even a patriotic duty for those of you out there who are within the sound of my voice. You got to help out. And doing our daily actions is the first best thing that you can do. Two final quick thoughts. Get us into a meeting with your member of the House of Representatives. Everybody's got one. We need to meet with them. Look at the information scrolling below and read that. Rewind this video and read the information scrolling below. In particular, we want to get into meetings with the judiciary staffer of your House rep. Second and last thing, and I have to say this again, and I'm sorry, but please donate if you can, guys. As I said, we need, I think, 8 people to donate $20 or more just to cover our expenses through this week. So yeah, very big things are happening. Oh, one final thing. We're working with USA Today. If you are going to get, if you got your loans canceled and you've confirmed it, like actually confirmed it, if you want to be interviewed, PM me. And there's a form that you can fill out. So, okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there at that. I hope you had a great weekend. Let's hit it hard this coming week. Let's make it the best week ever for student loan justice, particularly if you're new to the group. Turn over a new leaf. This is your battle, and we need you in it. And it feels very good to fight this fight. I think people like Lisa and many of our other veterans on this group will tell you. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good luck. Godspeed doing our daily actions. God bless everyone.